All right, everybody, welcome back to Game Over Cancer. All right, we got ourselves a little bit of a silly race this time around. We got ourselves a three-way race right now between DrunkenDraconian, Crunan, and KenshinTrek at a low percent. And we also have D&D Nat and Retrophile TV on commentary. So I'm super stoked for this, so take it away.
Hello everyone, welcome. Glad that you could have us here on the big stage at Game Over Cancer Spring 2022. I am joining the booth here with D&D Nat 21. Hello sir, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fantastic. I am extremely excited to see how this low percent race goes. I'm pretty sure anyone who's watched Super Castlevania 4 races and any percent, they know how hectic the game can be. Low percent gets 10 times more hectic because it takes 10 times more whipping to get this job done. I am super excited to get this going between three fantastic racers of low percent.
I could feel the hype from here there, D&D Nat. So one thing that we need to preface real fast for you fine folks here, low percent it's leather whip only. However, you can still get meat, you can still get the rosary that will cause some flashing. So that should segue into me saying, if anyone happened to have any sort of photosensitivity issues, we will call them out as we go here. There is some flashing parts in the game itself, but otherwise you should be pretty good. But yeah, this is leather whip only throughout at this point. With it being low percent, if at any point they accidentally pick up a sub-weapon or a whip upgrade, which can happen at any point by whipping a candle, they will take a courtesy death. Typically, with what would happen is with the SRC rules that are out there, the run will be invalidated. So we're hoping to see 3 valid runs make it the distance, but everyone has a gentleman's agreement here that they'll take a death if that happens. But D&D Nat, tell us a little bit about the runners. Let's talk about what we got on our plate here today.
Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and start at the bottom of the leaderboard. KenshinTrek with 42 minutes and 24 seconds with his PB. This is a keyboard warrior. He is one of the few people that runs Super Castlevania 4 with a keyboard, which has some advantages, but also some disadvantages that we're going to be able to see here throughout the game. But it doesn't really provide any overwhelming lead or anything like that, but he is one of the few people that uses keyboard as compared to controller. Next up, we have Crunan in third place for 40 minutes and 25 seconds. This is a fantastic time. For example, I have 49 minutes in this category. I am miles away from any of these runners, but Crunan is fantastic. You're going to be seeing a lot of whip cancels in this run. We're going to explain that later on, as they are presently off and running. And also we have in second place on the leaderboard, DrunkenDraconian, who PB'd today with a sub 40, a 39 minutes and 50 seconds. That is incredibly fast. Yeah, first place is 38 minutes, but 39 minutes is, he's inching his way closer and closer. And if anyone follows DrunkenDraconian, you know that he is very much high detail and high speed when it comes to low percent.
So DrunkenDraconian, just to kind of add a little punctuation on him, he's a category warrior, man. Like he has runs in basically every category that's out there. CD4 has a whole mess of categories that are there. Any percent, low percent, whip only. I think he's one of the 3 people that has done one-handed. So pretty crazy stuff here. But let's talk about the run we got going on here. You're going to see them taking a lot of damage boosts. Their health is going to get kind of scary low here in the beginning. One thing to note is with the leather whip, everything takes a little bit more damage to get through. You'll see these skeletons taking 2 hits instead of the typical 1 at this stage in the game. But stage 1's pretty straightforward, not too much to talk about on this side. But as we get further and further into the game, it's going to be very, very hairy to say the least. You'll see a lot of bosses, if you're familiar with the run in any way, that are usually pretty trivial. Any percent, you're able to get triple shot crosses, and crosses shred bosses is what it comes down to, and it just melts health. We don't have that luxury this time here, so you'll see even in stage 2, we're going to come up to Medusa, which that's a blink and you miss it type boss in any percent, but in this, it is actually a true foe, since the leather whip does such little damage, and you can just get petrified, you can get overwhelmed by snakes. It's a big mess here, but we're about halfway through stage 1. The boss at the end of this one's Rodane. Skeleton on horseback, you can just whip him down, and you'll probably see those whip cancels that D&D Nat had mentioned, or aka machine gun whips. The biggest thing about that is basically when you throw the whip out, CB4, you can hold down the button and you can kind of wiggle the whip around. Like, everyone's done that when they play the game and they enjoy it. But what you can actually do is, if you do any sort of input, like let's say if you slide your finger down or press down, and then release, and then you can whip again very, very fast. So you're actually canceling the animation of the whip and when it's fully extended. So you're getting that full damage and then being able to get around that. D&D Nat, is that the appropriate way of explaining whip cancels?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing actually that I wanted to point out, you guys may have seen Crunan, what he did is that he whipped a candle and he dropped the whip upgrade and then he continued moving on past it. So the way that this game works is that by dropping the whip upgrade and then scrolling the screen past it, you actually prevent the whip upgrades from spawning again. Now, we had mentioned that we want to avoid the whip upgrades, we want to avoid the sub-weapons, but what ends up happening is you want to avoid all candles that would normally drop a single heart. This is where you would get, if you have 5 hearts, a whip upgrade, and this will void the run. But by scrolling it away, he actually ends up making himself a little bit safer in the run to be able to whip a little bit freely and be able to go for a routing pattern that could be a little bit further optimized. It is definitely a high tier strat and requires a good portion of memorization as to where the candles are that hold single hearts, as well as where the enemies are so that you don't accidentally get knocked back into that upgrade if you're trying to spawn it. It is a very much interesting approach, and you might see it a little bit more down the road. But right now, we can see that DD is currently in the lead, going for the armadillos. Again, would be taking a couple extra whips, as it only does essentially almost about a third of the damage of the fully upgraded whip. It is it's much more difficult than what it seems.
Right, you are there, D&D. Yeah, so it looks like we got DD in first. We had Kenshin wrapping up pretty quick on the second, and Crunan not too far behind. Kenshin had mentioned that he didn't have a chance to practice yesterday, so he's coming into this kind of cold where we know that DD and Crunan have had a chance to kind of practice over and over again. But this is I want to say this is unprecedented, but this is a rare occurrence to see low percent in a race form in a marathon. Like we're taking truly the most unsafe category you can throw at it, and putting 3 people at it and just hoping for the best and trying to make an entertaining race out of it. And so far, they're doing a great job with how they've done stage 1, but Medusa awaits. Medusa is the mid-boss here. There's no boss at the end of stage 2 here, so this is the main hurdle to get over. Once we cross this rickety bridge, as DD is, we're going to go drop off at Medusa.
Yeah, the in this level, with Medusa being in the middle, there is anything that can happen. One of the worst things that could happen is if you get knocked behind Medusa, the way that the AI kind of works is that she has a tendency to wiggle in the back half. And keep an eye on DrunkenDraconian Square. You'll see it right now. Hopefully he doesn't get knocked behind. If you get knocked behind, then Medusa will just kind of rush forwards and, well, actually rush backwards, and kind of just sit on Simon's sprite and just do boatloads of damage. Yeah, very nice kill from DD's, going into the river with a bunch of health, and he's going to be able to take a bunch of boosts. In the
1 health.
Oh no, Crunan!
Wow, Kenshin and Crunan both taking a death here. So DD lengthening his stride. They're both taking a death here on this one. That's absolutely crazy. Like I said, this is a free fight any percent. You blink and you miss it. It is absolutely a hurdle. Kenshin does not do whip cancels either, so.
Yeah, it's harder on a keyboard. It's a lot easier to roll your thumb down on a remote control to try to get those whip cancels versus pressing down on a key. So this is where Kenshin actually has a disadvantage as compared to straightforward inputs. When you just want to press forward, for example, to do a true whip, he has a little bit more of the upper edge. But Crunan got knocked back exactly as I said behind Medusa, and now has to go through the bridge and deal with all of the animals that are much more of a problem in the swamps than any form of undead creature that Dracula could summon.
Absolutely. So it's the curse of the commentator coming out. Yeah, it may be Dracula's curse, but the commentator's curse is in full effect as
Sorry.
well. All good. But here's the funny thing, that even though that DD looks like he has a monster lead right now, this is far from over just based on how this category is. It's absolutely brutal. And like we said, there's that gentleman's agreement that if he accidentally grabs something, he will have to take a death, and it could be something kind of costly. But here we go, Kenshin getting through Medusa, as does Crunan. Very, very good. This is going to be a close race for second if DD can keep consistent. But again, this is a grueling category. This is definitely a marathon and not a sprint.
Yeah, absolutely. So in stage 3 right now, where DrunkenDraconian is, he is making his way through the Mudmen. Now, normally on any percent, stage 3 is all about health management, and this is less so in low percent because you can't take a good portion of the ring glitches due to the fact that the leather whip is much shorter than the fully upgraded whip. But health is still very important. What you notice is that DD actually has to do 1 leather whip before the Mudmen break. Now, a fully sized Mudmen does 4 pips of health damage. That's a problem because most boosts.
Oh, wow.
Oh no, DD! DD. Yeah, so the health management actually kind of works in his favor here. He can take more boosts. The Mudmen do a larger amount of damage when they're bigger, so you want to break them and kind of get them in two pieces so that you can get a boost in the right direction and have a proper amount of health. But as you saw there, even if you get the boosts, unfortunately, you're going to be on the ledge of a good portion of these platforms and can possibly fall off. There. Very nice ring glitch.
Very nice. So just real quick to explain what that was, that you guys were like, what just happened? Because if you blink, you may have missed that too. A ring glitch is where you're actually able to attach the whip to the top of those bat rings that are there. And you're intended to go to the left and kind of walk around. But if you're able to get at the very, very top of it, basically you'll do a whip and then drag it downward. You'll attach in a weird way, and Simon will kind of pop upward. And since we don't have the full length of the whip, we can't make it to the platform straight above, but you can go slightly to the left and make it to that other platform. So DD did a great job with that. Also a great eyeball boost there as DD enters the sunken city here. And we got a heck of a race between Kenshin and Crunan, by the way. They both had finished up stage 2 pretty much at the same time. We'll see what happens from there. But yeah, a lot of risky strats. DD going full ham at this point from what it looks like. But we'll see how things go here with the climb.
Yeah, DD is not known for taking it easy under any circumstances. He's all risk, all reward. So the boss at the end of stage 3 is the Orphic Vipers, the twin-headed dragon that essentially will be shredded by crosses if we could use them. But the Orphic Vipers kind of poses a major problem for low percent, as the heads move around in a very odd fashion. That it's a consistent fashion, but it's harder to hit with that short whip. The major problem with low percent isn't necessarily just the damage, but rather the range of the whip that is the issue. So with Orphic Vipers, you're going to have to be doing a lot of jumping around on platforms that are very risky. If you get knocked back, you're going to go into the pit, and it can go very wrong very quickly.
Also, look at his health. He cannot get touched.
Oh no! Rough. Oh wait, was that an intentional death? I think that
was intentional. I think to gain his health back from what it looks like, because I think Kenshin will probably do the same. Yep.
Yeah, so that's 2 intentional deaths. One smart thing to do in this game is to take an intentional death, because it is faster for you to take boosts versus whipping things down. Iframes are your friend in low percent.
One thing I want to also call out then too is that Kenshin did a second try ring glitch, whereas Crunan was able to get it done first and foremost. DD going really, really aggressive with this. Again, he can't get touched once, and takes care of the Orphic Vipers. Very nice.
Very clean, good orb, and he's going to make his way into stage 4, where Puexel is the next obstacle of choice for low percent.
So stage 4 is going to be the Mode 7 demo stage, basically just kind of flexing what the Super Nintendo can actually do. You guys will see what we're talking about with that one, as we see Crunan and Kenshin getting their way through the stage 3. While we have a chance here, just to shout this out, folks, !D for the donation link. Help support the Canadian Cancer Society. Also, !I for those incentives. So if you guys donate, make sure that you specify what incentives you want to donate for. Lots of good stuff that's out there. We appreciate all the support and love out there for you guys. It's a great cause, and hopefully you're all having a great time with this Thursday evening.
Absolutely, could not have a better way to spend my time and my energy. First off, it's a low percent race. We don't get to, like you said, we don't get to see this very often, but it's for a fantastic cause. So, whoa, DD just took a bad flip on those platforms. But guys, if you have it in you to be able to donate towards this cause, please do so. Right now, Crunan and KenshinTrek, a couple of seconds apart when it comes to Orphic Vipers. This could make a big difference depending on how they handle this twin-headed dragon, as DD makes his way into Puexel. You up backwards.
Yeah, wakes you up. Yeah, we got some fun names for bosses. We'll point them out as we go here. Speaking about the Orphic Vipers, we see that Crunan has a whole stack of health to work with. He just took care of it. Kenshin here taking things a little bit slower. This boss lags something fierce, so you want to try to take care of it as soon as possible. Sometimes you'll even see whip hits register, but they don't actually take damage away. It's the strangest thing. But hey, everyone getting through stage 3, the first major gatekeeper of the run.
So DD just did a really cool trick. First off, did a fantastic Puexel. He had the best pattern that he could have had. Puexel can stand there, breathe some gas, or throw out his tongue, but he can also go above you and sink down on top of you, and that distance is kind of RNG. He got a perfect RNG pattern and was able to have the skull just kind of hover above him and whip him down consistently. But if you notice on DD's screen, what he did there was essentially the goat Simon, where you don't even use... Yeah, not even using the ring to get up onto the platform. There's actually a point where the physics allows you to come into contact with the platform, and Simon can essentially be a mountain goat and climb all the way up to the top. It's quite a swag move.
That's actually also a very tight window to do as well. Nice boost here from Kenshin. Maybe a little, but that was actually very good. Very, very good. Okay, speaking about Puexel here, we're going to see that Crunan going in. We'll see what pattern he ends up getting. He's hoping for Puexel to be kind to come up with. We'll see. Oh, Kenshin going back down, grabbing extra meat. Very good.
Yeah, extra health is absolutely important. One little tactic that you guys just saw there was that you can go, if the meat is right on the border of a screen spawn, you can go backwards sometimes, depending on the level, of course, and respawn the meat to be able to play it a little bit safer, because 2 seconds on going back to the previous screen and getting new health, it saves you a lot more time starting at the beginning.
Every runner got the exact same Puexel pattern, basically. Oh, look, unfortunately, running away from Kenshin right as I say that, but at least all of them able to take him down. Very nice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So now we are moving our way into these rotating stone platforms. For people who've seen any percent, sometimes you'll see a technique called the zip, which allows you to go into the wall and skip a good portion of this level. But in low percent, it is much more difficult, and the risk reward is just not worth it in a marathon situation. You would have to pause the bat, be stuck in the wall, and then put in some very tight inputs. But without the crosses to take care of that backup, that extra bat that spawns, sometimes it's just way too much risk to be able to pull that off. So DD right now making his way through the crushers and about to approach Coronaut, as the rest of the racers are currently in the spinning room of mode 7.
So Coronaut is ton of rock backwards because he's a big rock golem. Again, throwing out the photosensitivity warning for you fine folks. There will be a lot of flashing during that. We'll let you guys know once that fight is all taken care of here, but we'll see how well he whips him down here. Good luck to DD.
Yeah, so what he's going to do here is try to whip him as many times on the ground between the landings and get some whip cancels in there. Try to go for 3 to 4 whips, and the reason being is that there's a timer between the jumps, so that we're going to take advantage of that window to try to get as many whip cancels in. And then once we get rid of Coronaut, there is actually a chance that we can get what's known as an early orb, where those moving platforms, depending on when you kill Coronaut, what frame he dies on, and where those platforms are, as you can see DD trying to figure out which one is which, sometimes you can get a good pattern and go for that orb all the way up in the sky. Unfortunately, both of those platforms were kind of evened out, so it wasn't high enough for him to go for. But if you can get it at the very, very, very peak of the rotation of those platforms, you can get that orb up in the air. It's a very, very tiny frame window, but it looks really cool, and it saves you a couple seconds.
So he takes care of Coronaut. Crunan on his way to Coronaut as well. Looks like Kenshin hot on his heels, coming into the last section of Stage 4. Stage 5 here on DD's screen. There's no boss. It's just basically a nice, peaceful walk up to Count Dracula to ring the doorbell, say hello, and crash a dinner party. But the main boss here is actually the timer. This is actually the shortest time level overall, and if you're not going fast enough, you'll start hearing the chimes go off. We won't have that problem, but the main issue here is Harpy RNG. Looks like that DD's had a nice pattern throughout. They can bully you, though. You can definitely get kind of pushed into a rough area, and there's lots of candles around, so you got to be very careful about it. Nice boost here on his side, looking real good.
Ooh, yeah, good job on that final Harpy, which could have been a troll. The Harpies are a major problem in any form of this run. What ends up happening is that their spawns are entirely RNG no matter what you do, and if you get knocked backwards, it only gets worse. And not only are they annoying by coming on screen when chances are you're going to get what's known as a candle clip, we'll explain that in just a second, but also they drop Fleeman, which are going to chase you up until they die, and sometimes that's just throughout the entirety of the level, and they are persistent. Oh, early orb from Crunan!
Very nice. Early orb grab, very good. And Kenshin here wrapping up Coronaut on his side as well, trying his best to kind of whip him down. It was a nice kill from Crunan.
Very nice kill. He did it real quick, and he was able to get that leather whip right through where the sub-weapon box is. That's how you do it with style. Let's see if KenshinTrek is going to be able to get the early orb as well.
Got a chance. Oh, so close.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, DD making his way through Stage 6, which is, if I'm not mistaken, where Castlevania 1 starts. So we are halfway through the game at this point, but things get harder. Everything has more health, which means that what originally would have taken 1 whip in any percent, which now takes 2 whips in low percent, can take anywhere between 3 to 4 to 5, depending on which mob you are currently facing. DD now facing the chandeliers. It's a little bit anxious. What can you say about the chandeliers, though, Retro?
So this is mode 7 again, kind of playing havoc. You can do this pretty aggressively. There's a very tight jumping order that we refer to as a 1 cycle that you can basically get through this as fast as possible. But you're probably going to see these runners take a comfy 2 or 3 cycle here where they kind of let the chandeliers go back and forth, and it's not as tight timing. But I guess I should say that this is Stage 6. This is what we refer to as where the game truly begins. Difficulty skyrockets. This is a very long stage that just kind of winds its way through. And for those that don't know, Castlevania 4 is actually kind of a retelling or a reimagining of the original Castlevania. That's what D&D Nat was mentioning, that this is the start of CV1. So we're playing as Simon again at this point, hence why we're here. But yeah, this is a retelling of CV1, kind of a remaster, but they, it's a super remaster, if you will. But nonetheless, we're gonna go crash the ballroom. Gonna work our way up there. Try to reduce the lag as best as we can throughout this process. Take a couple boosts here. Dee Dee's gonna line up for a bat boost. Skips the stairwell there on the side. You'll see him kind of use his health throughout. Very nice dodge of the axe there, and hopping his way up there. So another fun thing with this, you can actually jump on the stairs in this game, which I should say is both your best friend and your worst enemy. Truly, the final boss of this game is stairs. And unfortunately, every 8 pixels, D&D Nat, that sometimes the back part of Simon's heel will not catch, and you'll just fall through the steps.
Oh, Crunan tried to go for a 2-cycle to try to improve some time. It's about 4 seconds between each cycle, and unfortunately, he ended up landing on a pixel that just didn't work, and he probably got his jump eaten by the change of the angle on the platform, which can happen because of the Mode 7, and unfortunately, he took a death, so he has to start the stage over, putting Kenshin right in the middle between Crunan and DD. So, yes, and just to touch on Stairs Boss, so the way that Stairs Boss works is the image of the stairs, there is essentially a 0-0. If you were to imagine on a Cartesian plane, the x-axis and the y-axis, you were to put the stairs the 2 squares right in the 0-0 axis, that's where the stairs boss exists. So the game is looking for some form of coordinates for Simon to adhere to, and unfortunately, when you're on 0-0, the game goes, hey, no stairs. So even if you're pressing up, you kind of have to deal with the fact that you're going to fall through, and sometimes that's to your death.
Oh, very nice coffin ring boost there from DD. Very well executed. And I will say, though, that costly death on the chandeliers, that's a big one. And open the door. Kenshin is now in second place just because of that one singular mistake.
Yep, and actually, I believe DD did a death in transition, which is a frame-perfect trick which allowed him to die on the beginning of the screen, just as it's the end of the screen, just as it's transitioning, so that he moves into the next part of the screen with a maximum amount of health. We might see this again in Stage 8, so keep an eye out for it. You'll hear the sound of Simon getting hit, you'll see him lose his HP, but at the beginning of the next scene, the spawn point kind of transitions over and allows him to start the next scene with full health.
Yeah, that's a very nice thing. And by the way, that boss was taken care of pretty quickly. There's no RNG with that boss. If you know how to manipulate it and actually kind of follow the script, it's not too bad overall. The bosses there, the dancing spirits, that is Paula Abgul and Fred Askare. No, we're not making that up. It's in the manual. It's canon. But nonetheless, yeah, that's a pretty easy boss if you know what you're doing, but things can get out of hand just like anything else if you're not careful. Here we are in Stage 7 into the long library of Dracula. I don't know why you need books that are the size of a human, but there they are regardless. We're going to work our way through this one, and we have some safety meat. We'll see on the next 2 screens from now. We'll see potentially if we get a good axe or a bad axe. A low axe we'll be able to boost off of and get across. Do you think, D&D Nat, do you think we're really seeing the book jump / literature leap?
100%. There's no way that they're not going to go for a book jump. The amount of risk that's involved in this is one of the benefits, I guess we could say, of low percent is that you don't have to worry about building up your combos. You don't have
a good axe.
Oh, he didn't take it. That's strange. I guess he felt like he was a little bit off on time, but it's all about feel when it comes to this. No, it didn't catch him. One of the techniques that could happen with the literature leap or the book jump is that the book is supposed to catch you sometimes at the very edge so that you can get a pixel perfect jump. But as I was saying, the risk reward for this is not as severe. You do not have to.
Nice.
Yeah, there it is. We do not have to rebuild our cross combo. We do not have to get our whip upgrades. So if you die, you just keep going and you save actually a lot of time as compared to a death on any percent.
Right, you are D&D Nat. So yeah, so what happened there was basically that you can actually do a very tight jump, and it is as tight as it looks. You have to basically line yourself up on the very edge of that book, and I think it's something like a 6-frame window, but if you're not on the very edge of it, you can literally just get it down to a 0 frame, where it's literally impossible to make the jump, even if you jump at the right time. And it's rough. It saves several seconds, though, and with low percent, like you said, not that big of a deal. Crunan here coming up to Fred Askare and Paul Abgul. Kenshin has worked his way through, and DD right now, working his way towards Sir Grakul, our boss on stage 7.
Yeah, so Grakul can be a little bit of a problem. What ends up happening, there is a small little bit of a I guess we could call it a glitch, but I wonder if it was intentional or not. The way that he holds his shield will sometimes allow him to regenerate health versus just stopping the damage being done. There's something that you can actually, if you watch the HP of the boss, it's very possible to see the pip disappear and then return in the second phase. The axe phase, he can either slam it down as you see here or throw it. And after that, he goes into a sword phase where he uses the shield more and can possibly see a regeneration. So it can happen on any whip. Hopefully that doesn't happen to our runners here. And it gets,
That's scary.
Yes, because each sword swing is 3 pips. If there was even so much as 1 more frame of animation from Grakul there, that would have been a death for DD.
All right, we're wrapping it up, going into stage hate that we're gonna be going into for that one. This is likely where a lot of people's casual playthroughs came to die. Because everything in here is so evil and wants to kill you. Basically, doing this area almost requires damage boosts to kind of get through at this point. But welcome to it. If you see spikes, that will probably be a one-hit kill. But maybe we'll see that death on transition you were talking about as well toward the end of the screen.
Yeah, if he takes a bunch of damage, he's definitely going to go for it. Just to point out, Crunan got the book jump. He was able to get that window, get to the whip to pause the red skeleton, and then did a jump over him in order to be able to do damage.
He's pretty close to Kenshin. He's really closed the gap from taking that chandelier death.
Yeah, he really did. So right now, Crunan is coming back up onto second place as... he actually did, DD just did the exact, went for top route.
Almost had it, almost.
Yes, so there's 2 routes for that, depending on what happens with the rotation of the Crushers. The Crushers are on a global timer, which means the second you press start on the game, there is something that is determining the height of those Crushers. So you have either a low route or a top route, which includes a eye boost, which allows you to skip that little lower area, but also makes you have less health, which is why we would have seen a death in transition. But by going for the lower route, he was able to get the meat and be able to keep on going forward without needing to take that death.
So look at this. Crunan now going to be on the same screen as Kenshin. They're walking down the same hallway now. That is unbelievable. I should throw out that Crunan he's a low percent warrior. He's someone that I've seen him play low percent for a long period of time. He's consistently good at it. So him taking that death on the chandeliers and also on Medusa, that's crazy. Funnily enough, I think Crunan was the one that said, I practiced Medusa today. I killed Medusa 6 times in a row. And lo and behold, it comes back to bite him, oddly enough.
Yeah, well, that's the way it works, right? You do an RNG boss, 100 times, and you burn all that good RNG, so then when you get into the marathon, there's that bad RNG pattern. And don't tell me it doesn't work that way, it does.
We have Vegas coming up. Let's see if he's going to gamble on Vegas. Will he go for it at this point? He does not. Now, I understand why he probably didn't, because that candle right there, if you hit that on accident, that will drop an upgrade for the whip, I think. So he's just going to take it nice and easy.
It does, absolutely it does. I've made that mistake myself. I've ran low percent. It's not the best time, like I said, that I have, but it has happened to me, where now gambling on Vegas is where you would whip down as you jump, run at the bridge. Vegas has a random despawn pattern for those little platforms. For anyone who's run this game, I'm pretty sure it's killed you more than your fair share of times.
Even casual playthroughs, if you get through this grueling stage and then you have this thing where it's like, if you don't keep going forward, those platforms get way out of sync.
Yeah. Yeah, the second rotation is the safest generally, but you can do a stairs break boost across with the damage from those stairs.
Top route there from Kenshin, beautifully executed.
Nicely done. Let's see if Crunan goes for it. No, he goes for bottom route. So we've got a little bit of a difference in distance, but both strats, both runners doing a-okay. But yeah, the break on Vegas can be done in 1 cycle, which is very, very rare, very, very risky, which is why we call it gambling on Vegas. But it's too much of a risk to void the run entirely in low percent.
Absolutely. So we're in stage 9 here, which is the polar opposite of stage 8. Bright, colorful, golden. We have the whole slew of money that's here for Drac that we're just kind of rolling through. Even the skeletons are gold. That's a very cool touch. I'm going to let you guys know now that the boss at the end of stage 9, Zapbat, That is absolutely a photosensitivity warning for that one, so we'll call that out when we get closer to it. But we'll see if Kenshin... I don't think Kenshin's going to roll on Vegas at this point. Crunan might. I'm kind of curious to see, but maybe he's feeling the pressure after, unfortunately, taking that death on the chandeliers. But he's coming back in a big way here. His experience is definitely shining, to say the least.
Absolutely. Now, when you are slightly behind in these races, you have two mentalities. It's make it consistent, make it safe, and try to catch up where I know I can, or it's screw it, we're going to go balls wall and just try to go for everything. So we'll see what happens here with the Vegas attempt. You're right though. I don't think Kenshin likes to approach Vegas. Yeah. Ooh, that was a close pattern there for Kenshin there.
And Crunan also right behind, waiting for the second cycle, walking their way forward. So those 6 platforms, they have a window of frames that they'll stay between, something like between like 64 to 128 frames once they spawn. So it's just very, very strange, and there's no way to really manipulate that, unfortunately. Oh, look at that! Oh, okay.
Wow.
DD going for the spike jump there, but failing it, unfortunately.
Yeah, so the spike jump, the way that you would normally approach this is you would wait for those blocks to fall. You can not touch the spikes and just kind of take it safely, as we saw there. But what you can do is that if you bump all the way to the left wall and jump and press sideways at the exact same time, that allows you to jump at the very, very final pixel of the block, not touch the needles, and then do full jumps all the way up and kind of save yourself a couple of seconds. In any percent, this is a lot easier because you can use the sub weapon to kind of lock you in place with the animation so that your jump and your forward movement is identical at the exact same time. But in low percent, that is a frame perfect trick with no safety.
Oh, look at this. Kenshin and Crunan right now, basically side by side. It just blows my mind how much that he has closed the gap and fought his way back here at this point. DD comfortably still in the lead here. And again, folks, here's the warning. He's now going to be in the boss room, so we'll shout out once that one is taken care of here. But DD basically has a full stage lead here on the latter part of the game, so he's pretty comfortable. He's just going to avoid those major mistakes here. But Crunan versus Kenshin here, this is just heating up.
Yeah, so Zapbat, as we mentioned, it's a little flashy, so be careful. But normally in any percent, it's 22 hits. In low percent, it's 33 hits. Now, that doesn't sound like a really big deal. You just whip them a bunch more, right? Not really. What ends up happening is that you actually have to time your break at a very, very specific height. If you go too high up, the bats will maintain their swooping momentum and then spread out when they hit the second phase, as we're about to see from DD. He waits, on the other hand, for the swoop down.
Crunan taking a very big death.
Oh, that puts him at the start of the stage! No!
Massive.
Oh, wow. But DD just did a fantastic job on the Zap Bats, breaking them apart at a very low point so that they don't swoop, they stay kind of close together, and you can just whip cancel them down.
All right, it is safe to watch once again, folks. So that is a massive one. So Crunan has taken probably 2 of the biggest time losses you possibly can, because with stage 9, there's no checkpoint until just after that screen. He literally, it looks like he took a bad boost backward from either a bat or a skeleton, unfortunately, and it happened. So that definitely opened the door for Kenshin to keep going and lengthen his stride. DD here, stage A, Clock Tower. It's a Castlevania game, folks. We have to have one. This is a really technical stage. I mean, obviously we've talked a lot about all the tech that's here, but to do this stage quickly is very risky. You're going to see some interesting strats. Now, obviously, we don't have the full length of the whip to work with, so I'm curious to see how DD is going to tackle some of the climbs we're going to have to do to get out of here.
Yeah, he has a way to bypass a lot of these enemies. We're going to be abusing the iframes as we have been throughout the entirety of the game, but it's going to be far more important now and far more risky. And the reason why is that this is mostly a vertical stage. Now, when the screen scrolls up, it doesn't scroll down. It actually, that's a death pit. So if you miss your opportunity with the invincibility frames, the iframes, you're going in the pit and you're starting over at the beginning of the scene. It's not a fun round.
Okay, warning here for Kenshin. Looks like it's not flashing right now, so we're getting the right frames, it looks like, but nonetheless, he's in Zap Bat. Here's the big climb. Looks like Crunan also went for the spike jump, too.
Yeah, I mean, you start right at the very top of the stairs, and like I said, you don't have to worry about your combo build-up. So to go for it at least once and try, it's swag. Why not? And you only lose a couple of seconds if you die. So I don't blame him for going for that try.
Kenshin taking things very, very safe here on Zap Bat. If Crunan has a very fast kill, he can actually make up a sizable chunk of time from what it looks like. So definitely keep your eyes on that one here. And speaking about keeping eyes on here, DD with an excellent climb.
Ooh! Ooh. That Medusa, you almost just commentated curse him. That was terrifying.
I have a lot of faith in DD and his ability, that's for sure. He was able to do his thing, and he is now on the final screen to Akmadon II, the mummy, the same mummy that appears in Soden, oddly enough. But here we are, working his way there. Let's, D&D now, talk about the mummy RNG for us, would you?
So the mummy essentially has four or five patterns, places where he can spawn. Bottom left is the worst, as we see from DD's situation. In any percent, bottom left or top right is the best. We can bounce our crosses off the wall. But since we only have the whip, which is also extremely short, the centermost spawns are the safest, and the far right is one of the best. And the reason why is that we're gonna go ahead. It's random where he's spawning, but where you stand versus the bandages and the fireballs will determine whether or not you can safely whip him or risk getting knocked into the pit below.
So Crunan definitely making some time up here, it looks like. Oh, that was so close.
It's terrifying, this bat.
Yeah, but he definitely gained some time back, but that was a much faster, more aggressive kill. He knew he had to go for it, for sure. So one thing I will say really fast about Kenshin, we've talked about the other runners here. Kenshin is actually, he is a racer. Like, he races CV4 constantly. He's also known for his consistency. Now, granted, low percent is not really his main drag. Like, he's really good at whip only, and any percent. He usually does very, very safe strats, and that was a good safe strat on Crunan's part there, taking an intentional death, an intentional game over. He recognized he had 0 lives left, and just started back over with a fresh set of lives now.
Yeah, absolutely. KenshinTrek's consistency is what he's known for within the Super Castlevania 4 community. Every single Sunday, we have weekly races that we do amongst the community, and we do our best to try to just kind of make it a fun, casual thing. But we're still going for PBs, and we're a little competitive. But if there's one thing that we can count on, it's Kenshin being able to put in a solid average. You can never count him out, and he is always able to kind of pull through at a consistent pace no matter what. But that game over is super intelligent. The reason being is that if you game over versus spawning at some form of a checkpoint, you you just game over, and that's the end of that. You start over the entire level.
And that could be pretty detrimental even here at this point. But nonetheless, here on DD's screen, we're on stage B, the final stage here. Castlevania 4 has 11 stages, a monstrous run and undertaking. Here's Stairs Boss, stairs that fall away with a metal buzzsaw that's chasing in the process. It doesn't matter how many times you do this D&D Nat, it's always scary.
Yeah, I myself have lost so many runs on stage B. There's that jump that DD just did actually can stairs boss you on the very bottom stair. And while there's already a series of bosses at the end, it's like Konami was like, hey, you know, it'd be really cool if we put in really janky stairs and then let's make an entire level about it. Wouldn't that be fun? So,
Sure.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job on maneuvering those stairs. You want to just kind of do a neutral jump to save yourself from the stairs boss and go up them as fast as possible. The stairs drop away from the very bottom, so the higher up you can jump onto them, the safer that you will be.
He's doing a good job navigating those patterns here. So I'm kind of curious if Mummy RNG may actually help Crunan here. Now, Kenshin doing a pretty good job. He's had 2 favorable spawns, 1 rough one to start with, but if Crunan can get some good patterns here, maybe he's going to go things down. Also, again, Kenshin does not whip cancel, so Crunan, very, very fast with his cancels, could definitely gain some time here. They're both in the mummy fight, so we'll see how fast. Look at him showing off the machine gun whip. DD on this side, Slogra, let's go.
Yeah, so Slogra has iframes. He sees what Simon's been doing this entire game and goes, hey, I want to do that too. So we're going to be doing 1 whip at a time, and then he's going to hit the ceiling and come back down. There is a safe pattern that happens generally for the first half of Slogra, but there is also a 15% or so charge chance that he can do instead of these fireballs. And if you get hit a couple of times, it doesn't go very well in the second phase where Slogra just goes berserk and starts diving at you. Crunan not getting good patterns, unfortunately. I think that's
He's getting the worst. He's getting fireballs instead of bandages. Like, he's just trying to keep him out.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not a very good pattern, but I know that Crunan, if he does get even just 1 good pattern, he's going to be able to whip cancel all the way and be able to make up for any form of lost time that he has. But meanwhile, Slogra now in the second phase for DD as Kenshin makes his way across the Bat Bridge and towards the aforementioned stairs boss.
So Crunan, unfortunately, did not get the RNG that he needed to really close the gap there. Kenshin had a pretty nice kill overall. Slogra still doing Slogra things on DD's side. One of the final 4 to get through. We'll have Gaibon coming up next. For those that maybe had not played C before, you probably know Slogger and Gaibon as the trash first bosses you face in Symphony of the Night. And as far as Castlevania lore is concerned, Slogger and Gaibon, they are the servants of death, and they are constantly there. And actually, the name of the song that's playing in the background here is called The Room of Close Associates, because even when you fight death in Symphony of the Night in the Reverse Castle, there's a whole bunch of Slogger and Gaibon that are there. That is the reason why.
So now we're going to be seeing Gaibon. Gaibon has two phases, a blue phase and a red phase. The blue phase, he will drop down and spikes will fall from the ceiling while he shoots horizontal fireballs. But the second phase, he does a little bit more damage and will be shooting down these diagonal cones of fire, which can be a problem if you get caught in a bad spot and don't know how to jump and avoid. You kind of have to do a wiggle attack.
Wow, Kenshin was so close to getting knocked back and actually going back to the beginning of Stairs boss. That would have opened the door for Crunan in a big way, but he got very, very lucky to move forward slightly to avoid that from happening.
Yeah, Simon's toes are made of steel. His legs are holding on to ledges like nobody else. We have a joke that he's basically Thymon instead of Simon.
Thymon Belmont, yeah.
Thymon Belmont. So although he does have an Achilles heel, as we mentioned, the spike jump, you can see that even if his toes do touch a spike. Oh no, Crunan!
Oh, you hate to see it. He starts clawing his way back and then just takes an unfortunate death. Kenshin here on Slagra, and we're seeing DD on Death. You're hoping for Death to go down to the bottom right to kind of crank out that damage, but he's doing a good job working with the patterns he's giving him.
Yeah, Death normally has two forms of attacks where he has this swooping type attack, which could either be a very shallow swoop or a long swoop, but he also has a drop down attack, which allows him to spin and throw his scythe and kind of vacuum Simon into him. So you have to jump over that scythe, but those who are experienced with Super Castlevania 4, we can do jumping back whips down diagonals, and that allows us to get more damage in than trying to dodge those spaghetti noodle scythes that fly around the screen and attack us.
And Slogger being super aggressive with Kenshin here throughout. DD on his way, the final climb up to Big D himself. Dracula, we'll see how things go with that. He's going to be able to crank out those whip cancels. He's on a heater, man. This is a heck of a pace coming into this. This looking like this might be a low 40.
Yeah, that is a fantastic time for a marathon, a one-and-done type approach. Now, Dracula has three phases, the first one being a purple fireball that he will split off whenever Simon just passes through it over the y-axis. Second phase is fire elementals, which he will summon two of, and they will chase Simon around the screen. And the third one is he summons lightning and goes a little bit berserk. But there is a intermediate phase, which is the meat phase, which allows him to summon an orb that, when hit, will spiral out, do 2 points of damage to Simon if you get hit, but it will turn into a meatball, as you see here. Let's see if he can get it, and that will allow you to regain your health, which is crucial in low percent.
Right, you are there, D&D Nat. So Gaibon on Kenshin's side, he was able to get past Slogger. There's that spike ability there of the blue form that we're talking about. Crunan trying to work his way up here, almost knocking at the door for Slagra, and everyone is through Stairs boss.
Yeah, so it's anything can still happen for the last two, but it seems that DD has gotten himself locked in for Dracula. The time generally for when this game finishes is on orb grab after the 20-second death animation that dramatic Dracula likes to take. Even on his entrances, he's a little, with the organ music, he likes to make an entrance, but even on the way out, he just can't help himself.
Yeah, the reprisal of the theme of Simon Belmont here at the very end is always a pretty hype moment. And this is, to my knowledge, this is one of the few times that he's able to summon lightning throughout the Castlevania series, which is kind of interesting to me. But at this point, DD played consistently throughout, made minimal mistakes. He did a really good job. This is a fantastic time for a no reset setting, and it's absolutely a valid run. No whip upgrades, no sub weapons. We see Kenshin here on Death, and looks like DD landing the final hit. Will be collecting the orb here momentarily, and we see that Crunan has made it to Slagra and working his way through that as well.
Yep, so just because DD is done does not mean that we are done hyping up our two other racers, chat. So let's go ahead and drop those GGs in chat, but also keep the hype going for Crunan and Kenshin to be able to push through the Room of Close Associates.
And there we go. Looks like orb grab there was a 45x at that point. So very, very good run for low percent. That's actually monumentally fast for a marathon setting. So very good. Kenshin taking a death on Death as the final hits there. So look at that. How about it?
That could change things. So now it's not entirely over. Depending on how many cycles that Dracula ends up giving Kenshin now, Crunan can actually make this up. Now it also depends on what happens with Death now. Death now coming down, giving a good spinning scythe patterns. Yeah, that's a good cycle. So this is still close, depending on those whip cancels from Crunan.
Yeah, the whip cancels will definitely close the gap here. One thing to note is Death's Scythe that's swirling around there, actually the most damaging thing that's not a one-hit KO in this game. I think it does 5 pips of damage if you run into it, so just a monstrous amount of damage.
Yeah, that is 5 pips of damage from the Scythe. There's the dogs and some other red enemies that do 4, but that Scythe will take you down from, Simon has 16 pips of health, that's 3 hits, and you'll be down to 1, and chances are you're taking 1 from that swooping death.
That's for sure. Crunan with a very fast Gaibon kill, walking into the room. Even with all those deaths, it was still able to almost high-five Kenshin on his way out on this one. But Kenshin working his way up to Dracula to see if he can get himself that silver medal, taking the intentional death to refill his health. That's the smart move there. Very, very good. And off he goes.
Yeah, Crunan now dealing with some swooping patterns, but hopefully he's going to be able to take advantage of those. He comes down. Okay, so this can be huge, but it all comes down to the way that Dracula treats Kenshin. What ends up happening sometimes is, remember that meat orb that I had mentioned? It can be a little trolly. It can just rotate around the room, not want to be in the range of Simon, and can cause a massive problem. It can also damage him, and I've been killed by a meat orb. It's kind of insulting, I'll be honest.
Yeah, Dracula's not a free fight. Usually this is kind of your victory lap in any percent where you can just stack crosses and play things pretty safe. But with low percent, again, also you don't have those cancels to work with. It's possible Crunan could come back with it with some better forms, but overall, Kenshin doing a pretty good job as Crunan leaves Death's Chamber.
Yeah, so now Crunan is making his way up to Dracula as Kenshin is entering the Fire Elemental phase. With the animations and everything that Crunan has to go for, he's going to have to really put in some whip cancels and kind of hope that Kenshin makes a couple of mistakes in order to be able to finish this up in second.
Well, Big D, Dracula not actually doing many favors here. Actually, looks like Kenshin's going to get a full stack of health to work with unless that meat orb comes back. Look at it, just flying around, can't even get out.
That's what I was saying. It could be a troll meat orb. It happens.
But I have to say this. It is absolutely amazing to me that Crunan took 3 extremely costly deaths. We're talking Stairs Boss, Stage 9, and also on the Chandeliers. Those are massive time losses, and still came back to be competitive against Kenshin, who just opted for consistency throughout here. But still, this is no joke. All 3 of these runs are valid, and that's what we definitely wanted to see. Kenshin landing the final hit here, going to be taking second place in the low percent race here at Game Over Cancer Spring 2022, and getting a sub 45, which is still a great run.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And before this race, Kenshin was so nervous. He was competing against essentially the top 3 of low percent and the best that are currently running right now. So he was very concerned about his performance this run, and the fact that he's coming in second, he should be very proud of his performance.
And it looks like a 44-33 on that orb grab here on the screen here, and we see that Crunan in the final phase of Dracula. What a fantastic race that we have. Let's see if we can finish it up here, getting in those nice whip hits, just giving him a face full of leather. And it should be a couple more phases to wrap things up. Probably the next one, if you can get over to it. And Crunan will wrap things up here for us as well. Oh, so close!
Denied in the final rotation. That's usually the way it happens with drag. Oh no! The health. But nonetheless, just because just because it was third place does not mean that it is not an impressive run. That is a fantastically done run by all 3 of our runners. You should give it up for them. GG, everybody.
GG to everyone. If I can only just say this, try it yourself. Try going through the game with a leather whip only, and see how difficult it is. It is a massive undertaking. Medusa was definitely at play here. We saw it take down Kenshin and Crunan. DD played it so well, though, so consistent throughout. And it just, wow.
Yeah, he did. The Crunan just kind of stepped aside from the orb. It was a good run, but I'm pretty sure he wanted to be able to perform a little better with that. That orb dodge says a lot from in the running community.
Right, you are, D&D. Well, that was one heck of a race. Low percent. Please be sure to support the runners that are here, folks, and check that out. And speak about support here again. Game Over Cancer, Spring 2022. Exclamation point D for that donation link. Exclamation point I for the incentives. Support yourselves on the Canadian Cancer Society. And really appreciate you guys having us here for this CV4 low percent race. I'm Retrophile TV, joined here with D&D Nat 21. And thank you so much for all the additional commentary. Great stuff, man.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you, the runners, being able to take the time in order to be here and support such a fantastic cause. And of course, all of the viewers contributing. We wouldn't be able to do it without you.
Agreed. Stick around, folks. We got Super Mario RPG Randomizer coming up next. I'm excited to watch that run. And then following that, some guy, I guess, is running F-Zero, and there's an incentive for Blue Falcon versus Golden Fox. Just throwing that out there, guys. If you want to throw some donations out there to ensure Blue Falcon gets picked, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Wait, you know that runner? Maybe we should actually donate for the gold one. Isn't that what we should be doing? Am I missing something?
I don't think he'd like that very much. Please don't do that.
Yeah.
Darn, I couldn't have done a better outro if I could have said so myself. I was just sitting there, I don't even know. Awesome, guys. That was amazing. Thank you so much. As I said, we have Super Mario RPG Randomizer coming up next with Sinus, and we also have Broat Meal on commentary. This is going to be any percent, so stick around. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.